Welcome to the Madison Miller Podcast. Today is Wednesday, March 4th, 2020. Today I'm going to talk about last night's college basketball, NBA, and NHL games. Look ahead to tonight's slate. In each of those sports, The Masked Singer and Lego Masters have new episodes tonight, so I'm going to preview each of them and my best bets of the night as well. All right, we'll start in college basketball. The conference tournament started yesterday, and a couple others get underway. Actually, there is one sort of underway right now, the Mountain West. We'll just give a score update when we get to that. So, last night's results, you got South Carolina over Mississippi State, 83-71. Rutgers over number 9 Maryland, 78-67. Number 16 Michigan State over number 20 Penn State, 79-71. North Carolina over Wake, 93-83. Syracuse over Boston College, 84-71. Cincinnati over South Florida, 79-67. Richmond over Davidson, 80-63. Duquesne over BC, 80-77 in overtime. Maine over Hartford, 71-65. UMass Lowell over New Hampshire, 63-54. UMBC over Stony Brook, 75-67. Vermont over Albany, 85-62. Kent State over Bowling Green, 83-69. Buffalo over Miami of Ohio, 75-69. Ball State over Central Michigan, 85-68. Western Michigan over Eastern Michigan, 70-54. Arkansas State over Georgia Southern, 76-75. Georgia State over Little Rock, 89-70. A-Sun quarterfinal Stetson over North Alabama, 82-72. A-Sun quarterfinal Liberty over NJIT, 55-49. Big South first round Charleston Southern over Presbyterian, 81-64. Big South first round UNC Asheville over Campbell, 72-68. Big South first round SC Upstate over High Point, 69-59. Horizon League first round 80-59 Oakland over Cleveland State. Horizon League first round Youngstown State over Milwaukee, 63-57. Texas Arlington over Troy, 78-64. A-Sun quarterfinal North Florida over Jacksonville, 91-88. Patriot League first round Lehigh over Loyola Maryland, 78-75. Patriot League first round Bucknell over Holy Cross, 65-62. Akron over Ohio, 74-67. Horizon League first round UIC over IUPUI, 93-59. That was my best bet that easily cashed. Louisiana over Coastal Carolina, 108-101. South Alabama over Texas State, 58-54. Northern Illinois over Toledo, 71-50. A-Sun quarterfinal Lipscomb over Florida Gulf Coast, 68-63. App State over UL Monroe, 61-57. DePaul over Marquette, 69-68. Stephen F. Austin over Abilene Christian, 77-72. Vandy over Bama, 87-79. Tennessee over number 6 Kentucky, 81-73. Purdue over number 18 Iowa, 77-68. Texas over Oklahoma, 52-51. And West Virginia over Iowa State, 77-71. All right, underway right now in the Mountain West first round. Air Force is up 3 against Fresno State. I think Fresno State is going to win this game. I had them projected as a 2.5-point favorite over Air Force. And Fresno closed as a 5.5-point favorite. So I was 3 points off with the number. So I would have taken Air Force in the points, but I would have had thought Fresno would win by 3 according to my numbers. All right. 5:30 Eastern, San Jose State at New Mexico, Mountain West first round. New Mexico's favored by 9.5. I have New Mexico by 9.5 as well. So I'm dead on with the number here. So where would I go? Probably New Mexico because San Jose State is just so bad. 6:30 Fox Sports 1 Xavier Providence. Providence is laying 4, and I have Providence by 4 as well. So, gunpoint, I would take Xavier in the points. Because I just think that they are the better team, and they're playing for their tournament lives. So is Providence. Providence isn't out of this yet. I'm going to have a new bracket tomorrow. I don't know who it's going to be in it, because teams lose and teams win. And I have to bump some people out, so we'll see about that. 7 o'clock ESPN 2, Texas A&M at number 17 Auburn. Auburn's a 12.5-point favorite. I have Auburn by 11. So give me Texas A&M plus the points. I think it's the first time I've been against Auburn in a while. Because I've normally been on Auburn a lot. Now, no. Clemson at Virginia Tech on the ACC Network at 7 o'clock. Virginia Tech's a 1.5 favorite. I have Clemson by a half. I think Clemson wins the game outright, so I'm taking it plus the 1.5. ESPN 3, SMU at UCF. SMU's a 1-point favorite. I have SMU by 3.5, so give me SMU minus the 3.5. Tulsa at Temple on ESPN 3. Temple's a 2.5-point favorite. I think that line's off. I have Tulsa by 6.5. So give me Tulsa in the points. That is the weirdest line I've seen in a while. ESPNU, Florida, Georgia. Florida's a 2.5-point favorite on the road. I have Florida by 3.5, so I'm going to lay the short number with the Gators. SEC Network, LSU at Arkansas. Arkansas is a 3-point home favorite. I have LSU by 3, so I'm going to take the 3 points and run because LSU is the better team. I think they win. Big Ten Network, Minnesota at Indiana. Indiana's favored by 3.5. I have Indiana as a 6.5-point favorite, so I'm going to lay the 3.5 with Indiana. CBS Sports Network, St. John's at Butler. Butler's a 9-point favorite. I have Butler by 10, so give me Butler minus a 9. Fordham at George Washington. George Washington's a 7-point favorite. I have George Washington by 10, so I'm going to lay it with George Washington. St. Louis at George Mason on ESPN Plus. St. Louis is a 3-point road favorite. I have St. Louis by 7, so I'm going to lay the 3 with St. Louis. UMass at LaSalle. LaSalle's a 1-point home favorite. I have LaSalle by 2, so I'm going to lay the 1 with LaSalle. St. Bonaventure hosts St. Joe's. St. Bonnie's a 12-point favorite. I have St. Bonaventure by 17.5, so I'm going to lay the 12 here with St. Bonaventure. Canisius at Marist, Fairfield at Monmouth, Quinnipiac at Iona, Manhattan at Ryder, Niagara at Siena. Northeast quarterfinal, Mount St. Mary's at Sacred Heart. That podcast has not been posted yet. I'm going to post it after I post today's regular podcast. Sacred Heart is a 7-point favorite at home. I have Sacred Heart by 12, so I'm going to lay the 7 here with Sacred Heart. Fairleigh Dickinson at Long Island. Long Island's a 4.5-point favorite, and I have it 4, so I'm going to take Fairleigh Dickinson the points. They've been playing better, but I think that LIU will get the win. Bryant at St. Francis, Pennsylvania. St. Francis, Pennsylvania, 6.5-point favorite. I have it 12. I'm going to lay the 6.5 with St. Francis, Pennsylvania. St. Francis, Brooklyn at Robert Morris. Robert Morris is a 7.5-point favorite. I have Robert Morris by 11, so I'm going to lay the 7.5 with Robert Morris. UTSA at Old Dominion. FAU at Marshall. North Texas at Charlotte. 7:30. FIU at Louisiana Tech. UTEP at Middle Tennessee. OVC first round. Morehead State at Tennessee State. Tennessee State's a 2-point favorite. I have Tennessee State as a 2-point favorite. So, go with your gut. My gut says Tennessee State wins and covers. New Orleans at Northwestern State. ESPN Plus, TCU at number 1 Kansas. Kansas is giving 16.5. I have Kansas as a 16-point favorite, so it's a half-point off. So I'm going to take TCU with the 16 in the hook and bank on my number being right as TCU get backdoors them. Georgetown at number 11, Creighton. Creighton's favored by 12.5. I have Creighton by 13, so a half-point off here. So I'm going to lay the 12.5 with the Blue Jays. Central Arkansas at Southeast Louisiana. Sam Houston State at Texas A&M Corpus Christi. Houston Baptist at Incarnate Word. McNeese at Nichols. Wyoming at Colorado State. Mountain West first round. Colorado State's a 10.5-point favorite. I have Colorado State giving 16.5. So I'm going to lay the 10.5 here with Colorado State against a poor Wyoming team. Rice at Southern Miss. Number 14, Villanova at number 8, Seton Hall. 8:30 Fox Sports 1. Hall's favored by 3.5. I have Seton Hall by 4.5, so I'm going to lay the 3.5 here with the Pirates at home as they wrap up an outright Big East title. Number 3, Dayton at Rhode Island. 9 o'clock on CBS Sports Network. Dayton's a 4-point favorite. I have Dayton by 4.5, so I'm going to lay the 4 with Dayton, although it's not one of my favorite picks. 9 o'clock on ESPN2, number 7, Florida State at Notre Dame. Florida State's a 1.5 favorite. I have Florida State by 5.5, so I'm going to lay the 1.5 with the Seminoles Well, I think everybody's going to be on Notre Dame as they are playing for their tournament lives a little bit here. 9 o'clock ACC Network. Number 22, Virginia at Miami. Virginia's a 2-point road favorite. I have Virginia by 8.5, so I'm going to lay the 2 here with the Cavaliers. 9 o'clock Big Ten Network, Northwestern. Number 24, Wisconsin. Wisconsin's giving 13. I am going to lay the 13 because I have 19. Kansas State at Oklahoma State. 9 o'clock ESPNU. Oklahoma State's giving 6.5. I have it 9, so I'm going to lay the 6.5 with the Cowboys. Pitt at Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech's giving 6. I have 8, so I'm going to lay the 6 with Georgia Tech. SEC Network, Missouri at Ole Miss. Ole Miss is giving 4.5 at home. I'm going to take Missouri in the points because I have Ole Miss by 2. OVC first round, 9:30 ESPN Plus. Jacksonville State at Eastern Illinois, or I should say versus Eastern Illinois. It's on a neutral at the home of Evansville. So, right, Evansville. Or that's Arch Madness. Let's double check here. Yeah, the Ford Center's Evansville. So, it's where the OVC has their tournament at Evansville Stadium. So, or arena, I should say. So, Eastern Illinois is a 1.5 point favorite. I have Eastern Illinois by 3, so I'm going to lay the 1.5 here with Eastern Illinois. And 10 o'clock on ESPN3, you have Cal State Northridge at UC Irvine. Now I'm going to do NBA, look back on last night's games, and look ahead to a busy slate tonight. Spurs over to Hornets 104-103. Nets over to Celtics 129-120 in overtime. Karis LeVert carried them there. Wolves over to Pelicans 139-134. That's a surprise. Clippers over the Thunder 109-94. Warriors upset the Nuggets 116-100. Raptors over the Suns 123-114. Lakers over the Sixers 120-107. Kings over the Wizards 133-126. Tonight's slate at 7 o'clock you have the Celtics at the Cavaliers. Boston's a 4-point favorite. I have Boston by 3 in that matchup, so I would take the Cavaliers because there's so many injuries. Thunder Pistons. Pacers Bucks on ESPN. Milwaukee's an 11-point favorite. I have it Milwaukee by 10.5. Good God. Victor Oladipo's questionable. He's worth 3 points to the point spread, so I make it 13.5 if Depot is out, but he's questionable. He missed their last game at the Spurs, so maybe he plays tonight. I'm going to bank on the former Masked Singer contestant, the Thingamajig, to play in Oladipo, and I'm going to take the 11, and I think Milwaukee will obviously win. 7:30, the Jazz at the Knicks. You got the Grizzlies at the Nets. You have the Magic at the Heat. 8 o'clock, you have the Bulls at the Timberwolves. 9:30 ESPN. Pelicans, Mavericks. Mavericks are a 6-point favorite. I have Mavericks by 5.5, so I'm going to take the Pelicans plus the 6. Half-point differential. I'm going to say that Zion keeps them in it with an outside chance to win the game outright. And at 10 o'clock, you have the Wizards at the Blazers as the last game on the slate, as they will be playing without Damian Lillard, the Blazers. All right, now I'm going to do NHL. Go over last night's slate and look ahead to a small slate for tonight. Blues over the Rangers 3-1. Canadians over the Islanders 6-2. Pens over the Suns 7-3. Bruins over the Lightning 2-1. Wild over the Preds 3-1. Jets over the Sabres 3-1. Blackhawks over the Ducks 6-2. Oilers over the Stars in overtime on a goal by Alex Chiasson. Golden Knights over the Devils 3-0. And Sharks over the Maple Leafs 5-2. Only 4 games on tonight. 7 o'clock NBCSN Flyers Capitals. That's a game that could help decide the Metropolitan Division. Doc Emrick, Eddie Olczyk, and Brian Boucher on the call. Wouldn't rule out Kenny Albert. Wouldn't rule out even John Forsland, but I think it'll be Doc, because we didn't see Doc on Sunday. I'm going to say that the Capitals win this in overtime, And I'm going to say that it's a 4-3 game. Ovechkin will have a multi-pointer. 8:30 Blue Jackets at the Flames. 9:30 NBCSN Ducks Avalanche. On the call this game probably will be Gordon Miller and Brian Hayward, maybe? You would think Brian Hayward will be there because it's a Ducks game. I'm going to take the Avs at home. I think they win this one by multiple goals here. So, give me the Avs at home. And then 10:30 ESPN Plus, the Coyotes at the Canucks. Quickly before I talk about the Masked Singer and the Lego show, an incident on Monday night took place at Madison Square Garden. I wanted to address Spike Lee entered in the wrong entrance at the Garden. I think this story is so ridiculously overblown. I think both sides are wrong at what they said. The Knicks, I think, look worse than Spike Lee, although Spike Lee looks pretty bad in this. Apparently, MSG has an employee entrance and then a VIP special guest entrance. And Spike Lee thinks he's all that, and he decides to go in through the employees-only entrance, which is for Garden employees only. Spike Lee's not a Garden employee, so a security guard got at him, and they got into a big argument, and Lee was saying, like, oh, you're treating me like I'm Charles Oakley, referring to the incident that Oakley got thrown out of the Garden for causing some problems. And then at halftime, Spike Lee apparently spoke to Garden owner James Dolan and talked out whatever issues there were, and they shook hands, and now Spike Lee understands that he went through the wrong entrance. A couple things here, and then Spike Lee obviously went on First Take and was trash talking about Dolan and the Knicks. I personally think Spike might have done this on purpose to try to get the league to step in and try to force James Dolan to sell the Knicks. I think he's the frustrated Knicks fan that is frustrated with his team losing, and he's venting out to Stephen A. and Max on First Take. So that's my take of it, and I think that he was really being a fanboy here, and of course everybody and the brother is siding with him because nobody likes James Dolan, because James Dolan's a bad owner, and he really shouldn't be owning sports franchises at this point. No, neither the Knicks or the Rangers have won a championship under his belt, although they both came close. 99 was when he started being around, and they made the finals in 99, the Knicks did, without Patrick Ewing, and Jeff Van Gundy was the coach, and then 2014, the Rangers made the Stanley Cup final, but lost in a 5-game series that was somewhat competitive against the Kings, in which 3 games went into overtime. So, I understand Spike being frustrated, as a Knicks fan, and I think that's what it is, pretty much, and this story's just getting overblown, and the media is rightfully mocking the Knicks because of this silly statement they came out and said that about how Spike Lee was making up lies, and the Knicks had a photo proof of Spike Lee shaking James Dolan's hand, and Spike said that he didn't shake James Dolan's hand, and so part of me thinks that Spike Lee is lying about him not shaking James Dolan's hand, because the Knicks clearly had a photo of it, although their PR really should stay out of this drama, because the statements they makes themselves look sillier. So I think both sides are losers here, so there's really no winner to this, let's face it, disastrous story going on with the Knicks, and I really think that this could affect the team, even though they won on Monday night, but this Spike Lee story overshadows that win, of course, and everyone's going to make excuses for the Rockets and how they're looking ahead to their big game against the Clippers on Thursday night, which they were. I totally agree with that. James Harden had a bad game. Westbrook played well, I thought. I thought some of their role guys stepped up in that game. RJ Barrett had his best game as a Knick. So, there were things for the Knicks, such as Barrett's good game to be proud of, but it's just unfortunate that this situation happened, which is really overshadowing that. And I know this will probably blow over because every big story blows over eventually in sports, unless if it just keeps going and going and going. Like the Astros thing is going to keep going and going and going all season long. Like this Spike Lee thing is going to be over before the Astros cheating situation. And by the way, I'm going to have Sean Verma on the show early next week to talk about the Astros cheating thing again, and again with another guest, as in Sean. Well, I've discussed it with Derek. I've discussed it with Terry. And then we'll obviously talk about his Toronto teams, the Maple Leafs and the Raptors, and then we'll talk some NFL offseason predictions and whatnot as well with him. All right, now we'll move on to The Masked Singer, new episode tonight. The final four of Group B, which are the banana, the taco, the kitty, and the frog. These are all pretty good and talented people under each of those masks. So the banana was in an office, had a 213 alarm. I'm just going over clues that I noticed from the last episode. Cowboy boots. He said the words, "Hold my hand." The irony about that is that in the first episode where these characters were featured, there was a blowfish and there was like a hoot. And obviously, hoot, blowfish, hold my hand, hooting the blowfish, Darius Rucker. I do not think it's Darius because that is not Darius's voice. But that's very interesting that those clues were there. But if it's Darius and he's thrown everybody off with his voice, that'd be absolutely nuts. So I don't think it's Darius. There's posters, which I think represent something. They did favorite school subjects in the last episode, and he said art. My original guess last week, and from the first week of these characters, was Keith Urban. But I don't think it's Keith Urban. As of right now, I think it is somebody that is kind of thrown off the voice a little bit. And I think it's somebody that is a comedian. And I think it could very well be one Howard Stern. He's somebody that would throw his voice off. And like I can just picture his voice like with a little less conversation the way Banana did 2 weeks ago. So I'm going to say Howard Stern, but I am not confident in it whatsoever. Frog is left as well. This character was discussing a lease of life. There was a basketball in the hint. SCO, that must mean something. $19. There was a Hollywood star. And the favorite subject was gym to keep in shape. I think it's Kevin Hart. He's short like Kevin Hart. Kevin Hart loves basketball. Kevin Hart has played in the Celebrity All-Star Game in the past. I think it's Kevin Hart, and this is the one I feel the best about. I mean, I won't be shocked if it's Bow Wow, because I've heard that thrown out there, and I can see similarities of him and Bow Wow. I won't be shocked if it's Spike Lee. Speaking of Spike Lee, I wouldn't be shocked if it's Spike Lee. But the reason why I don't think it's Spike Lee, because if it was Spike Lee, he'd be wearing orange and blue, not the Lakers colors of purple and gold. And Kevin Hart, I think, is a Lakers fan, so I think it's Kevin Hart. And Alfonso Rivero is the popular judge's guest. Jenny McCarthy guessed it, And Gabriel Iglesias, the guest judge from last week, guested it as well. Taco was talking about like a news update in his package last week. A hot egg. Talked about meeting his beautiful wife. A rich career. Talked about toupee. And Taco's performance last week was fun. And I think it's Dave Coulier who plays Joey Gladstone in Full House. Personality-wise, it sounds like his voice. Comedian. So, like, there's all, like, those vibes that remind me of Joey from Full House. And, obviously, that is portrayed by Dave Coulier. So, I'm going to say it's Dave Coulier. Bob Saget, I wouldn't rule out either. Obviously, he was from Full House. John Stamos, obviously from Full House. Scott Wagner, I wouldn't rule out. And don't forget, Scott Wagner also sang for Aladdin, obviously. He played Aladdin in the cartoon. I don't think it's Scott. I think this is a little older than Scott's range. And obviously, week 1, there's a lot of Regis Philbin guesses because a lot of the clues from these first 2 weeks match up with Regis. But that's not Regis's voice, although you never know. We could be completely thrown off about this. But I do not think it is Regis. I do not think it is Scott Wagner. I think it's somebody like in that John Stamos, Dave Coulier, Bob Saget age group. And Alec Baldwin was mentioned by Ken Jeong last week as a possible taco candidate. I wouldn't put it past Alec to do this show. It wouldn't like stun me if it was Alec, because Alec's kind of like a comedy type of guy too, with a similar personality as Dave Coulier. But I think it's Dave. It sounds a lot like Dave. I don't think it's Alec. Although I could see Alec doing this show. Maybe he's in Group C, or maybe he'll be on in a future season. And the Kitty. There's a lot of interesting candidates for the Kitty. I thought the first couple weeks it was Kelly Clarkson, but I rewatched it last night. I do not think it's her as of right now. Talking about fantasy, a designer, magic, the red robe kind of made me think of Little Red Riding Hood. Gabriel Iglesias guessed Amanda Seyfried. Jenny McCarthy guessed Millie Bobby Brown. Ken Jeong guessed Sarah Hyland. She talked about her favorite subject being English. And she talked about being a bookworm. From a voice standpoint, I think it could be Amy Lee from Evanescence. She really hasn't been around much in a while. She's done a lot of soundtrack songs from movies. So I really think that there's a chance it could be Amy Lee, who obviously, like I said, was the lead vocalist of Evanescence. Another person I wouldn't rule out is Avril Lavigne. She really hasn't been around in a while, so you never know. Alicia Keys is someone that's been around a lot. Obviously, she sang at the Grammys. She hosted the Grammys. And she sang at Kobe Bryant's, or she played the piano at Kobe Bryant and Gianna Bryant's memorial at the Staples Center a few weeks ago. So that could be a candidate for this. But I'm going to stick with Amy Lee as my guess. So my guesses as of right now for the 4 contestants, and obviously it could change tonight after watching tonight's episodes. You got the Kitty, I think, is Amy Lee. Taco, and go with Dave Coulier. Frog, I'm going to go with Kevin Hart. And the banana, I'm going to go with a ridiculous guess of Howard Stern. And obviously the mouse got kicked off last week, and it turned out to be none other than the legendary Dionne Warwick. Now we'll do Lego Masters. This is, I believe, the 5th episode of the series that's coming on the night. And it's supposed to be a Mega City Block themed. So the teams that are still alive are Tyler and Amy, Sam and Jessica, Richard and Flynn, Mark and Boone, Jeremy and Mel, Amy and Crystal, and Aaron and Christian. So, should be a fun episode tonight after The Masked Singer. And we'll talk about who gets kicked off and who is safe and who wins on tomorrow's podcast. Now we'll do my best bets of the day, brought to you by DraftKings. I'm going to start in college basketball. By the way, Air Force up 7 right now against Fresno State. My best bet in college basketball is going to be the Virginia Cavaliers, who are only giving 2 points at Miami. I have this Virginia by 8.5, so it's a 6.5 point differential. And this Cavs team is playing a lot better. So that's going to be my college basketball best bet. And my NBA best bet, I'm going to go through these lines and my projected lines. Chicago. Wrong team. Indiana at Milwaukee. I have Milwaukee giving 10.5. 13.5 if Depot doesn't play. But I think Depot will play. So I have it 10.5. They have it 11. Celtics by 3.5 on DraftKings. I have it 3. Thunder -8 at the Pistons. I have it as well. Magic are getting 7 at Miami. I have it Miami by 10. Brooklyn's giving 1.5 at home against Memphis. I have it 3.5. Utah's giving 8 on the road at Madison Square Garden against the Knicks. I have it 6.5. Timberwolves are giving 2 at home against the Bulls. I have it 1. The Mavs are laying 6 at home against the Pelicans. I have it 5.5. And the Wizards are getting 8 at Portland against the Blazers. And that is my best bet of the NBA night. I have it as a pick'em due to the loss of Damian Lillard because Lillard's worth 5 points. Like, they are not accounting for Damian Lillard's loss. With Damian Lillard, I'd make this 5. Like, that is absolutely ridiculous. Like, is Bradley Beal injured or something? As far as I'm concerned, Bradley Beal is playing for the Washington Wizards tonight. That is a terrible line. I think the Wizards are live to win this game outright, actually. So, give me the Wizards plus 8 at Portland against the Blazers as my best NBA bet of the day. That's it for the podcast. I'll be back tomorrow morning with the daily podcast, recapping everything. But tonight I'm going to come out with NEC, OVC, and quite possibly some of the ones that begin tomorrow as well in terms of the conference tournaments for college basketball. I hope you guys have a great day, everybody.